Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the Moment of Truth. Living the so-called high life can bring someone pretty low, even if they're not in prison. I haven't seen 50 Cent's Netflix documentary about Puff Daddy, and I could really care less about seeing it. Entertainment is one of the opiates for the masses, and black folks tend to overdose on that stuff. I have no interest in it, and something else I have no interest in is 50 Cent. He went down to Louisiana hobnobbing with the likes of that racist governor who likes to talk like a wannabe Ron DeSantis. Jeff Landry's his name, and he talks like a Cajun Klansman, which is to say half the stuff that comes out of his mouth is unintelligible and all of what he says is unintelligent. But that's who 50 Cent was mobbed up with, and Landry called himself imitating DeSantis' own asinine legal stunts with a raft of legislation that would have given him control over the whole state. But the voters roundly shot down all of that stuff. It wasn't even a contest, but apparently 50 Cent was cool with living under flat-out white supremacist rule. Louisiana is sandwiched in between Greg Abbott's Texas and Mississippi, so basically you got the trifecta of stupidity down there. And I'm sure that just like with Jay-Z, you got some folks who are going to say that 50 was doing some sort of chess move. Isn't it interesting how whenever these black celebrities do their quote-unquote chess moves, the only one who even potentially could win the game is always only them. People want to pretend as if these guys are doing something of great importance. It's just like with Byron Allen. These guys are all out here jockeying for position to advance and promote themselves. And the same thing goes for Diddy, by the way. When he was on the outside, he was low-key campaigning for the Democrats. I wonder if they'll be the ones to give him a pardon if they get the White House back, because right now it's not looking like the orange man's going to do him any favors. Though if Diddy puts together a big enough donation package to give to Trump, then I'm willing to bet he would quietly pardon him during a congressional recess or during some major holiday weekend, try to bury it on a slow news day. Though it's hard to envision a news day slow enough to conceal something like that, especially with 50 Cent obsessing over him. And that's the part that gets me. The more I see 50 Cent chasing after Diddy, the more I have to wonder if something more than just that offer to take him shopping happened. But a big question is, why does this so-called documentary even exist? What purpose does it serve? Seriously, Netflix didn't give 50 a platform for this thing because they felt it revealed anything. It was because a lot of black people are utterly obsessed with celebrity, and they want to, even if only vicariously, be part of that big hip-hop world that they usually only get to listen to on downloads or watch on the internet. For that kind of black person, this so-called documentary is the intersection of a lot of those obsessions. But just keep in mind, it's precisely the fact that black folks love to obsess over who's beefing with who's sleeping with who in the world of hip-hop that made Vlad a thing. Just remember that. 50 Cent's very proud of this, but aside from sticking it to Diddy, assuming Diddy didn't stick it to 50, why is he all jolly about it? He's intentionally adding fuel to the very fire that the white powers that be have used to go after high-profile black men. And I don't think that's a coincidence. I also don't think it's a coincidence that 50 has not and has never gone after any white figures. 50 did an interview with Robin Roberts, and predictably it was nothing but a bunch of softball questions. She was basically letting him go ahead and repeat whatever points he wanted to say. Typically when Robin Roberts talks to black men, it's nothing but derision and disrespect. But how differently her interview with 50 Cent went. First of all, it was an interview, and it wasn't the straight-up smear piece that she did with Nate Parker and Jonathan Majors. She did the most to attack both of them. They always send out some black bootlick to do the dirty work, and notice that Roberts wasn't taking any slick shots at 50 Cent at all. She didn't cast aspersions on either the morality or the legality of using that leaked footage. Instead, they just did everything short of giving him an attaboy. They didn't call anything he did controversial. Instead, they called it highly anticipated.
The footage is part of a new highly anticipated docuseries.
They have an entire color-coded vocabulary they use where black people are concerned. For the black people out there who basically spend most of their time watching podcasts and trying to get as close to the hip-hop world as possible through that, understand something. My problem with this situation is when someone's in front of the cameras of the white media and the white media is not attacking them, that tells me the white media approves of what this person is saying. It doesn't matter who's beefing with whom. The white media doesn't put a black person in front of the camera unless they're attacking them. And they're not doing that where 50 Cent's concerned. Now, if 50 had made a documentary about, say, Eminem, Do you think Robin the Bootlick Roberts would be giving him a platform? If it was a white person that he was putting an unflattering spotlight on, do you seriously believe that Robin Roberts or ABC or any of these white media outlets would be doing anything other than trying to make it where viewers will look and say, I'm not sure how I feel about this?
Do you think that hip-hop culture was on trial as much as Sean Combs was?
And she said, do you think hip-hop culture was on trial as much as Sean Combs was? When the white media or their surrogates use words like culture, especially in relation to black people, that's always a euphemism for race. So why didn't they ask, do you think baseball culture is on trial? Or Hollywood culture is on trial? Or Silicon Valley culture is on trial? Whenever the latest school shooter goes to court, nobody in the white media ever says, do you think that suburban culture is on trial? They're using hip-hop, of course, as a euphemism for black, and 50 Cent apparently doesn't seem to realize that that also includes him too. He just goes right along with it. The problem, of course, is greater than that. See, black people are not the ones in a position to pass judgment on any white person in any of those fields, certainly not in a court of law. We're certainly not in a position where we have massive media apparatuses either that we can use to conjure magic and convince the public of things that we just pulled out of thin air. So when it comes to all of those relevant arenas where you could actually use power in order to punish or otherwise hem up some member of the dominant society, black people are completely locked out of those arenas. They don't give us the opportunity to pass judgment on non-black people in any way. They don't give us platforms for that either. And I don't think anyone except for the most stupid or gullible seriously thinks that 50 Cent cares about this Cassie woman. Let me be clear here. When it comes to the women who are around these celebrities, they know exactly what they're getting themselves in for. None of them is surprised. We can all agree that R. Kelly is a pedophile and he deserves to be in a cage. My problem, though, is that the narrative was that he had to force someone to do something. He didn't have to. The sad truth is that for generations now, we've had a bunch of absentee parents who usually have the mentality of a child, and they let their own kids run the streets. And for a lot of these directionless youth, especially the girls, their idea of adulthood comes from what they see on television, and that usually means experimentation with sex and delinquency. When you don't have someone to give you direction, you engage in behavior that you think approximates adulthood, because nobody actually taught you what the real thing is. There's always been a bunch of females under the age of 18 who are groupies for this or that music act and would do absolutely anything to get some alone time with their favorite male celebrity so they can go back to their gal pals and brag about it. R. Kelly's fans were no different. And the only reason the white powers that be suddenly became so fixated on him was because Me Too was ripping a bunch of prominent white men a new rear end, and they desperately needed to change those headlines. When the white media puts out things like CNN's hit piece against Bill Cosby and Surviving R. Kelly and We Need to Talk About Cosby, they're not doing it to do black people any favors. And no, I don't know anything about this Cassie woman other than her name and that the headline said that Diddy was abusive towards her. Now, that may be true, I don't know for sure, but one thing everyone knows is that Diddy fancied himself a music industry tough guy. It was even in the name of his record label, Bad Boy Records. I mean, could he have been more blatant about what kind of reprobate he fancied himself to be? Did any female around him of any age think that he was some sort of gentleman? It's the same thing as Hollywood. These starlets have no problem playing the whore for the likes of pigs like Harvey Weinstein. He was in a position to arbitrarily make them movie stars, and they were fine with it. Until they got over the age of 30, then the phone stops ringing, and they realize that they didn't have a career after all. Then comes Plan B. File a lawsuit against someone for something. Yes, these white Hollywood producers and executives are predators and scumbags, and all of these little females they had around them knew that going in. 50 Cent is no hero here. You can think whatever you want about Diddy. My opinion of him is very low. Anybody who's seen my videos about him in the past knows that. But with 50, he's not doing this to protect anyone. He's pressing some sort of personal beef, and if he wasn't being so unnecessarily sanctimonious about it, I would actually have less disdain for it. If he just came right out and said, you know what, Diddy did something that was an affront to my manhood, and I decided I'm going to be on his case until I wreck his name and everybody thinks as lowly of him as I do, I would be fine with that. At least he'd be honest, and he wouldn't be pushing this pretentious nonsense as if he's trying to play the hero for ingenues in the music industry. Because the reality is, this is all about ego when you got guys at their level, And these young females come into these industries and they all try to trade on their looks or anything else they got in order to get some man with some pull to pull some strings for them. It's a story as old as society itself. There's no need to be running around acting as if he's trying to save the children. That's not his business. That ain't what he's interested in. And why do people care about this so-called documentary anyway? The kind of people who chase after the hip-hop beefing and nonsense, these are not the most discerning people. In fact, they're not discerning at all. And I'm sure that somewhere righteous trash like Kamal Dumbbell is waking up off of whatever park bench he's been sleeping on and wondering if maybe he can finesse some quick cash out of Netflix to make a documentary. We need to talk about Diddy. If 50 Cent wants to be the Prince of Petty, I really don't care. And if he wants to take shots at Diddy, I could care even less about that. His spitball fighting with other entertainers isn't important. But I think we should all be aware that when a black man makes it a habit to run to white power every time he has a problem with another black person, that's something that is worth speaking on. Because you don't go to white society because you're expecting to get justice. Now, some of you practically live for gossip from the world of entertainment and hip-hop, so when stuff like this happens, it's like heroin-laced catnip. I'm not into that, and that's the reason why I haven't said anything on it before now. But I am speaking because when I see the same patterns that I've observed in other places, I'm not going to overlook it, and neither should you. Tell me something. Do black people seriously need this so-called documentary? Combs is in prison, and whether you side with him or not, I don't. It's not going to change the damage done to his reputation. So why do we need to have any behind-the-scenes video? What will we learn from this that we didn't already know? Will this lead to any new charges being filed against him, or is it meant to justify the conviction that's already occurred? In which case, who's the real audience for this documentary? Danny Masterson's in prison. Where's the documentary about him? There were a couple of small works about Harvey Weinstein, but they haven't continued to pile on him after his conviction. And nobody's done any documentaries regarding Woody Allen or Roman Polanski. Apparently nobody wants to open that can of worms, and that goes for 50 Cent too. If he really wanted to show how gangsta he is, then why not use his money and clout to make a tell-all documentary about Woody Allen or Roman Polanski? Why not talk to their victims? Cassie was 19, he said. Yeah, that means that she was a grown woman. A young one, but still grown. She wasn't a child or a baby, as he put it. Roman Polanski's victim, on the other hand, was only 13 when he raped and sodomized her. She wasn't a young woman. She wasn't a woman at all. She was a child. Not a groupie, but a child. If 50 made that documentary, would Robin Roberts and ABC give him a platform to promote it? And if he had, would Robin Roberts be giving nothing but softball questions meant to support a documentary like that? Or would she be acting like part of Roman Polanski's PR team instead? She'd be giving him the Nate Parker, Jonathan Majors treatment. It takes no courage to go after other black people, which is why the white media will gladly help you do it. But it takes courage to go after the dominant society because they control the levers of power, and they have plenty of friends who will also take shots at you if you threaten their position. I keep having to tell people that I don't care about Diddy any more than I cared about R. Kelly or Cosby. These guys are all paid their money, they took a ride on the devil's train and went straight to hell. They all thought they were in charge, and they were all wrong. And 50 Cent has also waded into those putrid waters. He's snuggled up to white power too, and he too seems to think he's too cool for school. That the same white powers that he had to contend with over taxes, apparently he thinks they like him now, or like so many other simple-minded Negroes who thought themselves too clever by half, 50 Cent seems to believe that he's figured out how to navigate his way around white power, that he can use white power as a tool, but only to go after other black people. There's plenty of white men with power who have abused and harmed and even killed far more folks than Diddy's name has ever been associated with. Going after other black people doesn't require courage. White power will gladly help you do that. It does take courage, though, to go after people from the dominant society, which I suppose is why 50 Cent's not doing it. He should be very careful about the game that he's playing. When you run around doing the devil's bidding, before long you can't go anywhere else. And that's when they show you the true nature of the game you've been playing all along. All it would take is one accusation from a woman, especially a white woman, and 50 Cent would find himself the next one to be getting the treatment. And the same Robin Roberts who was giving him softball questions would be giving softball questions to whomever his accuser would be. The same way they stripped R. Kelly of his wealth and stripped Diddy of his freedom, they can do the same to 50 Cent. And if he keeps doing their dirty work for him, that's how this is going to end. And if that happens, if he winds up being devoured by the very machine that he helped to feed, well, when it's all over, 50 Cent won't be worth 2 cents. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors: Liban Gurhan, Chris Pruitt, Lynette Burns, Johnny Martin, and Terrence Gaines. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.